I'm on artstation.com. It's my favorite website for artwork, okay? And I'm just going to type in fantasy. We're doing this right here on the spot, on the fly. Notice how, I don't want to say easy, but I've done this for 40 years, how simple it is to create content to get your players to a table for 6 hours. I type in fantasy. And what I have is a bunch of pictures. I'm not going to look. I'm going to scroll up and down and stop there. We're going to do the 9th one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There it is. This is a Fantasy Hammer Weapon by CB3 Dart. Okay, there it is. That picture right there is all I need to create an adventure, which would then, when you're creating a campaign, right, it can be overwhelming. You're thinking D&D or something like this, where it's, I have to create this story arc for 20 levels, and I have to anticipate where my characters are going to go and how the world is going to react to them through the entirety of beginning characters all the way up to powerful characters that can cast the most badass spells in the game. No, no, no. What you need to do is start by creating some interesting bits, things that ask questions, that bring up questions. Listen to the feedback of your players. They're going to ask questions as well. And as you come up with answers, you now have notes to take for the next session. You stack one session on top of the next, on top of the next. You extend that out every week, every Saturday you play. You do that for 60 weeks. You created a campaign, okay? Here is the start, the anchor point for today's session, for this session that's coming up tonight. I have a hammer. What are the questions that first stand out? Okay, and forget about the technicality of it, like who drew it? Is that 3D? Is that 2D? It looks like 3D to me, right? I have to answer that. Yeah, 3ds Max, ZBrush, so on. Doesn't matter. The random picture we picked. Okay, first off, it's isolated. So everything is about this hammer. There's no background image. If there is, it's blurred. So there's no certain race that's holding it, right? But my mind immediately goes to, of course, the dwarves of Lord of the Rings because of the behind the scenes, the aesthetic. It has that very blocky, geometric flow to it. It doesn't look elven to me, okay? It's some sort of a mace, a hammer. There's a primitive aspect to it because it's just leather straps. Yes, there's some brass, bronze, gold, whatever that is, over the top, but there's straps, there's wood. It's kind of crude, like a block of stone that's been carved into some sort of a mace, a maul, a hammerhead. So it doesn't have, it doesn't scream Star Wars, right? It doesn't scream cyberpunk type of mace. There's a primitive aspect to it. There isn't anything, because you don't have any background images of character holding it, that says that this is wielded by an ogre or a giant, or is it wielded by a goblin? How big is the weapon? It doesn't matter. But let's just continue along that track and let's ask some more questions. Sure, you can scroll down and notice there's iterations and various versions of it, but let's stick with this one image right here. This is all you need. So what I would do is I would snapshot this, screenshot it, print it out, bring this to your table, and then grab an index card. And if it doesn't fit on an index card, you don't need to write anymore. Whatever you can fit on the index card, create a bullet point, make one little dot, okay? And then what you do is you say, why would this thing matter to my players? Because notice that first bullet point, that first idea, is you immediately draw the players in. Whether you're excited or not, whether this is your first foray into the world of a dungeon master or a game master, and you get to either expand upon the world that's already written and pre-published, or you get to Tolkien it and create your own entire world, or James Cameron's Avatar and Pandora and all that, right? Regardless of what it is, this is not the time for you to spit 40 pages of world lore and details. Because what if, just what if, the barbarian at your table doesn't give a damn about what's happening in the East? They just want to know, where's the loot? The wizard just wants to know, where is the wizard council so I can get more spells? The ranger wants to know, where can I find a cooler pet for me to hunt? Or I should say to tame and use an animal handling role. Whatever it might be. Okay, first, throw what I call throw your baby away. Get rid of any attachment to the world. This is not your world anymore. It's theirs. What they do and how they react to the situations you present to them and how the world responds in turn is how the world is created. The fascinating demon realm and demon portals that you have in your world only matter if your players explore those. Okay? So, the first bullet point should be, why would your players give a damn about this mace, this hammer, this stone block? This weapon is needed to kill some boss. Maybe it doesn't have to be so extreme like a world-ending, endgame villain, Vecna style. Maybe it's just to slay the local threat in the woods that's terrorizing the village. For whatever reason, only a primitive weapon can kill this thing. Only a weapon that was carved and created during the same time when this beast was born. So your players need this. Notice the question that's begged that comes up from that. Do your players already have this? If they don't, do they know where it is? Do they know which NPC to go to? Do they have a map? Where is this thing? How far is this going to go down in sessions before they finally acquire this thing? Maybe they're searching for it for 4 sessions, just following, what do they call it? Red herrings or whatever it's called. There's no real verifiable claim or statement that says this hammer is at the bottom of that crypt. Okay? So they need this weapon to slay some creature, right? And maybe they already have it, and they need to wield this weapon in battle to kill that creature during tonight's session. And then it's over. You find a new image for the next session. That's it, right? So they need this weapon. That immediately tells the group, you need this thing. So go find it, okay? You're being heroes. You got to help the villagers. The villagers need help by killing the bad guy, but you can't kill the bad guy without this thing. Cool. All right. Now, can it be wielded by anyone in the group? Can the mage wield it if he has to? What if it's wielded by the paladin or the tank and he falls in battle? Can someone else pick it up? If you need this thing to kill that creature, can anyone wield it? Maybe you can. Okay. Who made it? Why is this specific weapon needed to kill that specific beast? Did the beast or some race or lineage or species link to that beast? Did his people, so to speak, make this weapon? Are there more out there? Now, once this weapon is wielded and it's used to win the final boss battle, do they get to keep it afterwards? Does it have cool properties that lets them keep it? If they do, how powerful is it? Does it significantly improve the power of the paladin that's now wielding this, but you didn't give equal loot to the wizard, the rogue, and the fighter in the group, right? So are you going to allow them to keep this? If they don't, what happens to it? Does it, when it kills the beast and the beast just evaporates, blade style, just a burst of vampiric ash, does this weapon evaporate with them? Maybe they kill the beast, but then the beast needs to be buried with this thing. And it's this thing that allows that beast to not be tainted by necromancy so it can never rise again, right? Maybe this is a phylactery concept. Destroying this kills the beast, whatever it may be, okay? But now you're answering those questions or asking those questions of what happens to this thing when the mission is accomplished. Now, let's look at some actual visual details. What are the straps, right? You notice there's runes and symbols on it. That might prompt, if your players kind of go down that rabbit hole and they say, do I know, is that a language I know? Yeah, it is. That's written in some sort of an old Elvish. And you've heard, give me a history roll. Arcana. And somewhere down in the far southeast, there's this group of feral elves that speak in this dialect. And because you rolled so damn well on that roll, or you've got some sort of a linguist trait or feat where you know these obscure, forbidden, ancient languages, that points you to that direction, right? So maybe there's more out there. And if there's more weapons like this from that time period, maybe each, but notice right there, I just created multiple sessions of a story arc, right here on the fly. And this multiple sessions I just created is it now has me thinking, maybe there's a group of 7 bosses. How cool would that be? Because now what you do is when you're in between sessions and you're trying to plan, but you don't know where to begin and you want to get out of just the book itself, start browsing for 7 badass creatures. Your 7 favorite creatures from fighting games. 7 creatures inspired by 7 Marvel heroes. By 7, I want a Joker. I want a Doctor Doom. I want a Darth Vader. I want the Alien Queen from Aliens. Right? I want Pennywise from It. 7 entities of pure doom and evil. But each has a specific item or weapon attached that must be wielded, and it's the only thing that can harm those creatures. You just created so much content because now you got to find and create 7 creatures. Each piece of artwork on those creatures is going to ask more questions, prompt more answers. I now have 7 weapons that my PCs need to search for, right? Kind of think of a deck of many things concept, but each card of the deck is lost somewhere else in the world. And now you're dealing with the cultures, the societies, the factions that your players need to build reputation up with. There may be enemy factions. There are factions that rumors and myth and legend says these are bad guys. But if those are the guys that symbol or those etchings point to, your PCs may need to interact with that group someday because they're the only way that they're going to get any sort of clarity and definitive answer as to where that one weapon is. But now your PCs are playing into the political machinations of that specific faction, so on and so forth, right? We can go on and on. But that, however long this is, 10, 15, 20-minute ramble, all started from things I was prompted with by looking at this picture. Now, you can certainly do that by finding a piece of artwork within your current book, right? But get out of the rule book, get out of the DMG, get out of the monster manual for a little bit and find something that's not immediately attached. There's nothing about this other than I typed in fantasy that says this has something to do with the, I don't even know what you call it, 5.5, the 2024 version of the Player's Handbook or the monster manual or the DMG. This, not directly at least, right? But it starts you going down this exploratory creative process. And when you do that, you stay on the appropriate side of your brain where you stay imaginative. You stay free. You don't feel confined by rules and laws. But how is that going to work for the fighter's new subclass ability and the level 18 and the capstone, whatever, all that bullshit that's coming out on all these videos about all these new things that these classes can do. But what about just the imaginative element of, they always say in art, you can't polish a turd. If you don't know basic design and the silhouette of a shape when you scratch it out with a fat Sharpie in 30 seconds, if that doesn't scream to you and resonate, look at some of the world's greatest concept art by like Ian McCaig, right? We're talking like Phantom Menace stuff, right? Or even further back, Ralph McQuarrie, Sid Mead from Tron. Ralph McQuarrie, I believe, was the original Star Wars, right? Episodes 4, 5, and 6. Look at some of that concept art, right? Look at the work from Weta Digital, the concept art from that stuff, when they're defining the Uruk-hai's armor, or just the Uruk-hai themselves, or what Gollum would look like, or what Smaug would look like. You notice that a lot of this early concept art stuff, the first iterations, the thumbnails, is this crude sketch, 30 seconds done, just to get an overall aesthetic and a shape. And then if that shape stands out to you, if the broad image stands out and appeals, then you noodle and detail. You don't need to know action surge and action economy and how the barbarian... No, what you need to do first is create some broad thing that makes the barbarian excited to begin with. The hell with rage and how rage works now and the fact that they can use a bonus action to keep rage going even if they don't get hurt or deal. All the stupid shit that's coming out. None of that matters. What matters is creating something interesting first. Not beholden to any sort of rule set. Because it's your excitement, your enthusiasm of what you see and what you explain and the reciprocation by the players at your table, that's what defines an incredible role-playing experience. It has nothing to do with the game, the system, the world. So, bit of a ramble there. But there you go. Start with an image and create your story, your adventure, your campaign from there. See you later.